All right, hey everybody. So if you caught my post on Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen where we were going to start a stitch along in January. And the stitch along is for this adorable little kit from Kiriki Press. So this is the knit sweater. I know it's backwards, but knit sweater from Kiriki Press. And I actually got mine in the sampler club, and it was published, I don't know, a couple of years ago, but I have never managed to stitch it. And here's my proof. Look, not stitched, just plain. So I thought, you know, this year it might be fun to work on a lot of different projects. So 2 years ago we did the year of self-care and I had a ton of fun with that. Loved teaching you. Last year we did the blanket along, which I failed at miserably because I didn't finish the knit blanket. Eventually I have plans to do that, but not this month. So maybe in February we'll get back to the knit blanket, I'm not sure. But I kind of thought this year I want to focus on doing some more like once a month alongs, and I want to change it up a little bit. So this month I thought, oh, let's stitch. It's nice and portable, it's fun to work on, so let's do a stitching project. And then as we keep moving throughout the year, I want to continue to do some alongs. So what do you want to see? Would you like to see a knit along, a crochet along, a weave along, a spin along? We can do a tat along, or let's see what else. Oh, and we can even do a knotted lace along. So Armenian knotted lace, Armenian needle lace, Mediterranean knotted lace, what else is it known as? Smyrna stitch, Oya, Babila, that kind of thing. So we could do an along with that as well. So I kind of want to hear from you. What would you like to see this year? I will try to incorporate all of your suggestions throughout the year. I can't guarantee it, but I'll do my best. And we'll keep talking about it in these videos as well as in posts on Facebook and Instagram. So what would you like to do? Let's make a plan. I like making plans. I like it better when I can stick with the plan, blanket along. But we will get back to that, I promise. And I want to do more videos where I'm teaching because I love showing you things, and I love hearing your ideas as well. So this month we are going to be focusing on this guy, the stitch along, for the knit sweater, and I thought we'll get started on that. So I am going to turn my camera around. We're going to talk more and get right into stitching for the first section on our knit sweater. All right, so let's talk about what you need in order to do some embroidery stitching. Now, I mean, at its very basic, you need your fabric, which we have a pre-printed fabric, which is nice. You need a hoop because that's going to stretch your fabric taut so that you can stitch on it nicely. You need scissors. Scissors are always good. And we do sell these adorable little things. These are called super snips. They're fabulous. Now, I did manage to break the little join on this one because I've had these for quite a while. But I really like them because they come with their own little cover. Isn't this adorable? Fabulous. And look how small they are. They're so tiny. They're really easy to slip into a bag. Love these super snips. Really recommend them. You also need a needle or needles. I happen to be using the tulip embroidery needles. They're one of my favorites. John James also makes a really nice embroidery needle. So either one of those is going to work very well. And then you don't have to have beeswax. I do like to have beeswax because it does make it just a little bit easier for your stitches to lay smoothly, but that's up to you. You don't have to use beeswax, but I do like it. These are also really nice to have. Not necessary, but nice to have. This is a stainless steel micro threader. This is from Kiriki Press. And again, we sell these in the shop. So go check out Kiriki Press needle threaders. And you can find, she's got some really cute designs. There's a bear, a bunny, there's flowers, there's a super cute poppy. So anyway, really nice to have. And they're very sturdy because they're stainless steel. They last a lot better than the aluminum ones that come free in some needle packs. And then again, something you don't have to have, but it's nice to have, is this needle minder. So I'll show you how to use this in a little bit, but basically it's just a magnet, and because it's magnetic, it allows your needles, oh yeah, look, they stuck, woohoo, It allows your needles to stick to it. You can also throw your scissors on here if like you don't, but you have to be careful of the tip, so do be cognizant of that. But so that's nice. You can also, take your little needle threader, and it's not anyway. So because it's stainless steel, it will also stick to the magnet. So that's also nice to have. It's not necessary. And again, this is a Kiriki Press one. You can find these in the shop. So www.atwistedpicot.com now. And again, one more thing, it's kind of nice to have this. It's not necessary to have this. This is the handy pocket guide to embroidery stitching. And it does have lots of different stitches in it. So it's just a nice little guide. It's inexpensive. It's $7.95, $8. It's not like a super expensive little book. But it's just nice to kind of keep this in my stitching bag. And I do like to have a bag. So this is just a cloth bag that actually this is a Stitched by Jessa Lou bag, which we don't sell, but she's a friend and I really like her bags. So anyway, I just keep it in this lovely embroidery bag, or this lovely bag I should say, where all my embroidery resides, and that way I have everything at hand. It's easy to get to and it's put away. Plus it keeps the cat and the child out of my things. But anyway, so now that we've kind of talked about some things that might be nice to have, let me talk to you about how to get started. Now, with our Kiriki Press samplers, what's really nice is that they come with a link. So I'm going to get out more technology now. They come with a link. Let me see if I can find it. And I gotta increase the brightness. There we go. To the, I don't think you can see this on here. Well, anyway, there's a link on here. Let me brighten all the way up. So what's really nice is that they come with a PDF, so that you can see, can you even see on here? Yeah, a little bit. How to do your stitches. So there's a whole guide, that you get with your embroidery samplers from Kiriki Press. So there's tips and tricks, and then it gets into how to actually make all of the stitches. So this is really nice because you can print it out or you can just reference it on the PDF. Okay, so I am using a beechwood hoop. You do not have to use a beechwood hoop. This just happens to be my personal favorite hoop, so I'm using it. I have wrapped the inside hoop of my two-piece embroidery hoop, and the reason I've done that is because it allows the fabric to be gripped just a little bit tighter when you go to actually put your hoop together. So very simple to put your hoop together. I just lay my fabric over the inner hoop, put the outer hoop on top, start to tighten it down, and then I gently pull on my fabric. And my goal is to start with this interlaced running stitch. Now I can see that I need to move my fabric a little bit because I did not place it quite right. So we're going to back that out just a little. There we go. Tighten my hoop down again. And all I'm looking for what they call drum tight. So it's just enough, just tight enough that it has a little sound. Not quite there. So it sounds a little bit like a drum when you get ready to stitch. And you don't want to leave, that's not bad. You don't want to leave your fabric under too much tension in between stitching sessions. So if you are taking a break, and you know it's going to be a long break, anything over like half an hour to an hour, release the tension. Hear that? Lovely. I do like that. Ina would really enjoy this if she was home. She's at preschool right now while I'm filming this. But anyway, I know that my fabric is tight enough. Now I can see that I still need to pull my fabric, and I can see that it would help to have just a little more tension down along the bottom. So there we go. And I can see that with my fabric, because it has been stored for a while, you know, I've got some creasing in it, so I'll want to, if I was doing this properly, I should really go and steam that or iron that out before I start working on it. But I kind of don't care. This is for me, and I can steam it afterwards. So there we go. We have our hoop ready to go. Let me get this out of the way. There. We have our hoop ready to go. We have our stitching guide at hand. And now we can prep our thread and our needle. Now what's nice is your Kiriki Press kits do come with all of the thread as well as the little insert that shows you what you're making, and the fabric, the pre-printed fabric to make your sampler. Now, because mine was part of the sampler club, I have some extra colors in here that we are not going to be using today. So this red and yellow and black I am going to take out because I don't need any of those colors right now. These are actually for the extra little sampler pattern that came with it, which I will stitch, I don't know, at some point, but not today. So there we are. So we're going to pull all those colors out, and I am just going to, if you need to store your thread, you can do just an overhand sort of looped knot. Gentle, don't pull that too tight, and now you can put that to the side. So these are all the colors that we will be using today. Well, not today, but throughout our stitch along for the month of January. And let's see, she has a color guide on here that tells you, so we have cream and we have ecru. So we should have two colors. Yep, cream and ecru right there. So there's our two colors of thread. And let's see, we're going to start with the interlaced running stitch because that's the easiest one. And I don't know, do I want to, how did she do it? She did it in the ecru because you can see the, oh, I see, yes. So you're using the ecru for all of your sample stitches, and then you use the cream to actually stitch the sweater. So that's what we're going to do today. And what I really like is that she's already pre-cut these lengths. So usually before you would start stitching, you would cut this to about 24 inches. Is that about 24 inches? Yeah, about 24 inches long. And then you would be ready to prep. Okay, so I have my pre-cut length. We know we're going to use ecru. We're going to practice this interlaced running stitch. And to do this one, what we're going to do is we're going to stitch the running stitch, and then you are going to bring your thread back up, and you're actually going to run it underneath your stitches down one side, and then we're going to go back up the other. With the interlaced running stitch, you wouldn't necessarily have to do both sides, but for this specific design, that's what she's chosen. Now, she does recommend, let me see, for the samples, usually it's 1 or 2 strands. I'm going to do 1 strand. I think it looks better with 1 strand. So to pull a strand out when you're working with floss, if you've never done this before, you're going to grasp the strand of floss that you want, because this comes sort of loosely spun together, not tightly twisted together like true yarn would be. And you're going to gently pull until you have 1 single thread that has come out, and then sort of smooth down the rest of your floss. Now you've got 5 strands left here and 1 strand here, and this is all DMC floss that she uses. You can use other brands, but her kits come with DMC floss. So I'm going to set the rest of my ecru aside for now, and I am going to get out my beeswax. So you can see I've used my beeswax in the past, but I am just going to gently set my thread in here and use my thumb to sort of hold it down just a little bit. You don't have to like push real tight, and get just a little bit of beeswax on this thread. All that's going to do is help to smooth down any flyaway fibers so that we don't have issues with flyaway fibers. Those can get caught in our fabric. They can make our stitches less smooth. So now that we have that taken care of, let's pick out an embroidery needle. Now there are different sizes of embroidery needles. For example, this is 7, 8, 9, and 10. let's see, it's the smaller the number, the thinner the needle. I think I'm correct. I'll have to look that up. If I'm not, I'll put a correction on this video. But what we're going to do is pick out a needle that is going to match our fabric. This one would be a little too thick. This one's not bad. That one's better. Too thick. And I think we're getting into thinner than I'd like. So you can clearly see that I've got different sizes of needles here. This one's definitely too thick. So we're not going to use that one. We'll set that one aside today. This would be a good needle. So all I'm doing is I'm trying to match the needle to the weave of the fabric, because I don't want a really thick needle that's going to poke a really large hole in my fabric. I want something that's going to slip through and not leave this very obvious hole behind. So that is why I'm looking at all of my various options. And I know I'm going to put away all my too thick ones. Let's see. These are going to be my 9s. I think my 10 is just a little too thin, so I think we're going to use a 9. A lot of people use 8s. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm going to stitch with this one. So there we go. You do want to make sure that if you haven't used your needles in a while, that they are clean and free of any rust spots that would snag on your fabric going through, but my needle looks fine, so. Now the next part, of course, is threading, and if you happen to have one of these lovely needle threaders, it's really easy. You stick it through the eye, you place your floss strand over the top, and then, I don't know if this is going to pick up really well, but then you just pull it back through the eye until the tail pops through, just like that. That's how easy it is to use those. I love those needle threaders. Now I always like to make my tail pretty long to start with, so that I'm not fighting as much length of thread coming through. It can help to prevent knots. It doesn't necessarily, but it can. And now we have options. So we can either do, well, we have lots of options actually. So we can do a waist knot. We can do an away knot. We can't really use an anchor stitch because we're just starting. And we can't really do a knot and weave. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, we can't really do knot and weave. So we're either going to have to do an away stitch, excuse me, an away knot, or a waist knot. So I think we will just use that away knot. And we're actually going to just make a really simple little overhand knot, just like this. Leave a little tail. And we're going to go down through the front of our fabric. And I know that sounds really weird, but we're going to go down through the front of our fabric so that we can clip our tail off later. So for the first part of this stitch along, we're going to work on this interlaced running stitch. And then when I come back in my next video, I think we'll do chain stitch and then maybe spider stitch and then maybe Cretan stitch, and then we'll work on stitching the center. Or I might do all 3 of these next time, but this is already starting to be a long video, so let's just get this started. I'm going to take my thread and I'm just going to poke it down kind of over here, and what that's going to do is it's going to put my knot up on the top of my fabric. Now I should be a little further away than what I am, but that's okay. So this is going to be my away stitch, and what I'm going to do is when I'm all done stitching, then I will clip this knot and pull the tail through to the back and try to weave it in. But let's get started. So here we are with our little running stitch, and so we're going to just go up at A and down at B. Now if I were being very proper about this, I wouldn't be going up and down like this. What I would be doing would be sticking my needle in the fabric here and then tipping it down. And all I'm doing is, you can see I've got the little pre-printed marks So I'm just going to follow those. There's my finger. Don't poke your finger. If you do poke your finger and you get a little bit of blood on your fabric, though, you can get it out. I'll have to look up a good recipe for you for next time. I'll try to remember to talk about that. Okay, now there I can see I did not poke my needle through exactly where I wanted it, so I'm going to back out. Oops, still didn't get it. There we go. That's the nice thing about sewing, is that you can keep moving your needle. I do really like this needle. It's working quite well. There we go. Now, if I were properly doing a running stitch, as I was trying to say earlier, I would be poking my needle through and then gathering my fabric instead of going up and down, up and down. So I would be pushing my needle through so that, and I do have an extra strand of thread caught there, but that's okay. I would be using my needle like this and not trying to go up and down in the fabric. But that's all right. That's all right. We are practicing. So there's our little running stitch. This is the first part. And now for the interlacing part, what we have to do is we have to come up on the outside of our stitch. And now we're going to do all of this on the front side. On the front side. So I'm going to slip my thread beneath my stitched running stitch, beneath the first running stitch here. I'm going to pull it out to the side so that I have a nice beginning. And now I am just going to take my needle and run it underneath each of these stitches, trying to leave a little bit of a loop. You don't want to pull it down really tight. I'm just trying to leave a little bit of a loop. Just like this. Oop, that's a little much. Actually, it's not bad. Not bad. So your goal here is to not get your needle in the fabric because we are running this along the top. I am using my finger to press up from the back just a bit to sort of bring the fabric up to make it a little bit easier. Okay, and now you can see a little bit of how we've got this wave, right? We've got this nice wave going. I'm gonna just needle minder at this point. So anytime that you go to put your needle down, because we don't want things to disappear like our needles, you know, in our flesh, it's nice to have your needle minder on your hoop so that you can just park your needle out of the way. Kind of nice. All right, so now we are going to reverse our direction, because now we've done one side of our loopity-loops, and now we have to go to the other side of our loopity-loops. I know, it's a very technical term, the loopity-loop. And again, I'm trying not to catch any of the fabric. I'm just trying to go underneath the stitch. So here we go. I know, and it's also a little bit hard to see where my stitches are. But they're looking so pretty. So nice and delicate. Here's my little running stitch. Now you can actually go in and use a different color to make these stitches, these interlaced stitches. This is why you don't want to pull it too tight. So there we go. We've got some nice loops. Nice loops. They don't look too bad. Let's see. Let's compare. Let me get this out. See, I parked my needle. All right, let's compare here. I think it looks pretty decent. You can see her stitches here, my stitches there. They look kind of the same. They're not bad. They're not bad. Alrighty, and then to finish this off, I'm just going to go through the top of my running stitch here because I want to secure it. There we go. Not bad. Kind of like it. Wasn't too terribly hard. There's just some extra thread work on the top. And again, even though my thread's coming from the back, I'm going to park it there on my needle minder. Okay, so that's getting us started. You can go practice your interlaced running stitch. If you want, you can make some extra interlaced running stitches along the side here. And then with this away knot, you can leave this in place. And here's the back of our work. You can see we have this extra thread hanging out over here. We'll actually cut this knot off and weave it in later. But we're just going to leave that away knot where it is for the moment. Because we are going to move from here over to our chain stitch. That's what we're going to work on in the next video, but I just wanted to get everyone started on our stitch along. And then I think in the next video I will just go ahead and do chain stitch, spider stitch, Cretan stitch, because we've talked about all the setup, and then we can really get to stitching in the third video. Okay, so hopefully you are enjoying the video and you're excited for part 2, where we're going to learn 3 more stitches. But again, please tell your friends about us. Make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure that you are following us so that you get notified when there's a new video. What else? Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you like to follow us. Go check out the new website, www.atwistedpicot.com. We're trying to add more new things, although I'm trying to get all of the old things over on the new website. But yeah, go sign up for the newsletter. Tell us what you think. Give me ideas for other stitch-alongs you might like to see. And yeah, and join me for the next video where we work on chain stitch, spider stitch, and Cretan stitch. I think it's Cretan. Cretan? I don't know. I think it's Cretan stitch. We're going to go with that. If I'm saying it wrong, somebody correct me. So, all right, I will see you all next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.